Good morning and welcome to Coffee Time with Kauffman, the comfortable place to talk about women's leadership. Today, I am here to talk to you about turning dreams into goals for Q2 2022. To introduce myself, my name is Maria Kauffman and I'm an engineer turned life coach. And today, I am drinking a flavored coffee. I've already had a cinnamon flavor for today. Typically, when I drink flavored coffee, because it's not as strong as my normal dark roast, I tend to have two flavors. My next flavor that I'll probably get after the show is caramel. So let's talk about turning dreams into goals. It is my favorite conversation, my absolute favorite conversation. And I'll kick it off with a little story. I remember as a very, very young girl having a very quick interaction, as some of those early memories may tend to do. You just kind of have just a little glimpse of a fraction of a time where something significant happened. And I just remember I was at the YMCA. I was with two girlfriends, one which was my really good friend from down the street. So I do remember her, but there was another girl there that I don't even remember her name. I couldn't tell you my relationship to her. All I can tell you is that in this moment in time, I remember her telling me, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I did not have an opinion about the topic of conversation or whatever was going on. And she very, very pointedly turned to me and said, she was shocked that I didn't have an opinion. And she basically called me out and said that I should have an opinion about this, and that having no opinion about the situation was somehow a bad thing. All I can tell you is I remember that so well because it left me thinking two things. Is number one, I thought, I kind of had that feeling like I had done something wrong for not having an opinion. So I kind of had to deal with that reaction in some way. It did lead me down a path where I questioned, do I need an opinion about this thing that I have no opinion about? So I thought it was interesting. A lot of times in life, we do get into these situations where people will have a very, very strong opinion of how they think life should be. And they will try with their strong opinions. I'll say they'll try. They're just being themselves, really. It's not like they're even trying anything. They're just expressing themselves. But depending on where you are and how you interpret their strong influence, it may persuade you or not, and it may rub you the wrong way, or you will get on the bandwagon and you will just go along with. Certainly that kind of means that you have an opinion. Either your opinion is opposed and you shy away from the influence, or you agree with and you go with the influence. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle in between. I certainly remember that. It is part of what inspires me to think a lot about dreams and goals, because later in life, this is what I would notice. I would notice when I had success in my life, I had a goal and I was driving toward that goal. Over a long period of time, I can say, after decades worth of living life and looking back on moments that were not as successful and wondering about that and thinking, why were some parts of my life more successful and some parts were not as successful? And I think I boiled it down to this part where, for me, being a natural learner and growing kind of person, I love to learn and grow. It is part of who I am. It's part of my authentic leadership style, if you will, my personal brand. When I'm in those learn and grow phases and there is something specific that I'm driving toward, I tend to be happier. That's just part of who I am. I imagine that is pretty similar to most people, especially when you study successful people and what makes them so great. So that is my hugest inspiration to turning dreams into goals. I also believe very, very strongly that, first of all, businesses, definitely successful businesses, if not most all, there are some that don't, I'm sure, have quarterly and annual goals. A successful business is going to have those as part of their daily practices, processes, and you kind of have to wonder if they're doing it, maybe it's something that I should do too. So I separate a business entity, or I look at a business entity no different than I look at an individual. So I believe too, it certainly makes a difference in my life to have quarterly and annual goals. That is why New Year's Eve is one of my favorites, because it is a huge celebration and a nice reminder to reflect on the past year and to look forward to the new year. But then what happens in between? What kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person that doesn't like to do resolutions? Maybe you don't like to do goals. On a regular basis, then between the years, I know a lot of people tend not to do goals, which means you're definitely not going to do quarterly goals. If you don't do annual goals, it's probably a lot more resistant to do quarterly goals. I like to do goals at any point in time on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, what I will do is I will share a little bit about my 5-step framework. This is, and I will encourage you, on April 27th, I am doing this presentation in full with a Society of Women's Engineering chapter for Santa Clara. So April 27th at 9 p.m., I'm pretty sure it's at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I recently shared a post, I believe earlier this week. I will post again for sure to let you know how to register for that. I will be making a special offer in that session with the Santa Clara SWE chapter on April 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm pretty sure that's 6 p.m. Pacific. Anyways, so just to jump in, we're already into Q2 a little bit. So I definitely wanted to take the opportunity to talk about turning dreams into goals, because it is my passion and it is the beginning of the 5-step process. So I will chime in here and get this going. I do have another announcement. On the personal side, it's a pretty crazy, hectic day today. I am heading up to visit my daughter in college. The huge celebration that we're going through right now, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are doing something similar, is it's getting close to graduation time. And my daughter is about to graduate college. So talk about turning a dream into goals. This is what happens even when you don't put it on paper. It's magical how your heart already has you lined up to fulfill a certain destiny, and all you have to do is just pay attention to it. So I'm over the moon excited for my daughter. It seems like the past 4 years have definitely been a blur. They've gone so fast. And now it is getting close to celebration time. I'm just in shock that it went so fast. Everybody says it does, but until you go through it, it is an experience. All right. So with no further ado, I'm just going to kind of jump in. This is how I start my normal presentation. I do talk about how to advance a career for a dream life in 5 natural steps. That's where we transform leadership mindsets from imposter to immune. And let me get to. So typically in my sessions, once again, I'm not going to go through the whole session, but this is how I kick it off. I think it's really important to share is that in my sessions, I show you how to gain success and happiness in all areas of life by empowering yourself with a strong personal brand. I also share tips and tricks for building immunity to imposter syndrome. And I share what makes building immunity so important for everyone. So just a quick reminder to turn off distractions so that we can get into turning SMART goals into unstoppable goals. So a SMART goal offers a practical, proven path to achievement, and it is typically tangible. Unstoppable goals, which I highly promote and help inside my programs, is they offer unlimited motivation that create meaning and purpose, and they are typically intangible. Most of my audiences already know that a SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-oriented. I highly encourage you to hold off creating any SMART goals until you are clear on your unstoppable goals first. Unstoppable goals happen naturally, and they are the best way to make all of your SMART goals make more sense. You may want to consider 3 to 5 unstoppable goals, but for right now, we'll just dip into one. Most of the time, life teaches us to be distracted from our goals. But once you have a clearly defined unstoppable goal, it makes creating SMART goals highly effective and super quick and easy. As we begin our adventure, all you need to do is think of a title for one of your unstoppable goals, and 2 to 3 words max is all you really need. I have a few ideas here for you. So I would love to have, personally, a low carbon footprint is in, I'll say, in more of the back of my mind. It might not be my number one unstoppable goal, but it certainly is an important feature for me. I'm all about sustainability, making the world a better place, and keeping our planet prosperous. So it's kind of hard to go without the idea of a low carbon footprint. But I will say this, one of the major unstoppable goals that I have been focusing on for years is a loving relationship with my daughter. That is certainly a powerful, powerful thing. So as I dip through a little bit here in my presentation, as a matter of fact, I am going to somewhat come back to you and page through. I do talk about, one of my main things is helping women build immunity to imposter syndrome. I talk about 4 different leadership styles. The fact of the matter is, there's a little bit of each one of these 4 styles in everyone. Everyone's an imposter at some times, whether they're willing to admit it or not. There is some truth to that. And as you move from imposter into immune, we go through an impressive style and definitely an influencer style. So let me move on here. A few things. I will say this. I'll kind of jump into this because I think it is one of the anyone who's been following me on any of the channels will understand from my newsletter. If we're thinking about unstoppable goals, we're looking into the future, right? This is something that we are going to grow into. And I love to tickle the idea of, hold on, let me get over here, of what's the world going to look like in 100 years from now. Let me get back here. Okay. So imagine, right? What will the world look like 100 years from now when more people are able to achieve their unstoppable goals? A little over 100 years ago, women in the USA finally had the right to vote. We have come a long way since then, and we still have a very long way to go. I strongly believe that advancing a woman's career is the single most powerful and strategic way to empower women, save the planet, and bring more happiness to the world. And with that idea, it certainly makes unstoppable goals really, really important. So, how do we turn our dreams into goals, right? And me also, I'm jumping around in my slide here. We start with the dream step. I'm trying not to have too many slides for you that are unnecessarily at this point. I love to take people through the dream step. All right, let me go full screen on that. So we naturally dream and think about what we want in life, and your dreams are as unique as you are. Turning your dreams into goals and making them come true is an act of empowerment. What's the difference between a dream and a goal? Dreams are something you create in your mind that can take any shape or form, and goals are based on taking action and seeing results. So that's certainly a very, very important aspect, is to turn those thoughts that are inside your mind into something that you can actually create in the real world. So as a quick bonus, I like to step you through a few questions that I take my clients through whenever we're creating those very, very important unstoppable goals. And that's to ask, what is it exactly? Right? So what is your unstoppable goal exactly? If it's a deeper, loving relationship with your daughter or a family member, I love to think about that in a very, very intangible way. And what it has done for me is it has taken my relationship with my daughter to deeper, loving spaces that I couldn't imagine even a couple of years ago. It just keeps getting better. And these are some of the questions that I had to answer many years ago in order to create that deep, loving relationship with her. So, what is it exactly? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And what are the results of what it feels like? What is its location? Especially when we're thinking about an intangible goal, like a deep, loving relationship with your daughter. The location gets to be a little interesting and something that we want to explore and play around with. So for me, my relationship with my daughter is like everywhere. I don't need to be with my daughter to have a loving relationship with her. Sometimes it's on the phone. Sometimes it's through text messages. Sometimes it's actually even on social media, right? And sometimes, because my daughter her love language is quality time, sometimes that's just hanging out on the couch together. And sometimes we're together, but we're actually even separate. So the location becomes these types of things that are very, very specific to me. And it can mean whatever it needs to for you and your unstoppable goal. But the most powerful question that I love to ask, and I think the one that really pulls it back to the idea that we are very, very important and unique in our leadership styles. This is how we build immunity, is to ask this last question. And that is, what is the benefit to the world? So I'll kind of chime back in here and just have a little moment with you to let you know that this is a powerful question. So having a loving relationship with my daughter is definitely going to impact everyone that I come across. It's going to impact everyone she comes across. And maybe we're just two small little people in a small location at any one time. And sometimes we're in bigger locations. It really doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that we understand and we know how important our contribution is to the world. That is huge. So I like to share a little bit about that particular unstoppable goal, because our personal lives a lot of times really impact our professional lives. And as an engineer, certainly, I have transitioned from my engineering career into a coaching career. But this was one thing that I feel like I didn't get right as much as I could. And something that I would love to share with everyone out there, especially women in engineering or women in STEM fields, women in male-dominated fields, is that the fact that you are there is a huge benefit to the world. I can't say that enough. If I say nothing but that for the rest of my life and go around specifically helping women to understand how powerful their presence is in the roles that they play, in the careers that they lead, I think I will change the world with that. I see some positive feedback in the chats. So thank you so much for Jennifer and Erin for piping in and letting me know a little bit of feedback on the importance, hopefully, of turning your dreams into goals. So maybe one of the questions that come up is if we're turning a dream into a goal and we're getting results, how do we know we're making progress? And I'll share a quick little story from my week this week that was actually rather surprising and uplifting for me. So my daughter calls me out of the blue in the middle of the week, which is pretty rare for her. She's in a pre-vet program. It's pretty intense. She's definitely got a heavy workload. Most of the time when we talk, over the phone anyways, it's very quick and brief because of her heavy and somewhat stressful workload. And I appreciate that. So I most of the time let her be, right? We have every 2 weeks we get together and we have our quality time. That's our scheduled time. She knows it. It's kind of comfortable. It minimizes, I'll say, the stress on both sides so that we have a repetitive, consistent, and a reliable time for us to connect. So to get a phone call from her out of the blue, that's happened many times throughout her college career, and it's not always been on the favorable side. So if she's calling in the middle of the week, I tend to think maybe something's gone wrong. You know how you have those moments where it's like, something is different here. What's going on? And she called to share something very, very personal on a celebratory side. And it just lit up my world. And it was the feedback. It was a result of my unstoppable goal of building this loving relationship with my daughter. You really have to stay open to the opportunities too. It may not be the results. Measuring those type of intangible goals may not be the results that you expect in the beginning. So leave yourself open. Highly encourage you to leave yourself open to the unimaginable. Anyone going for an unstoppable goal will undoubtedly run into these things. And it was precious just to have that quick moment. She was in between classes. It was less than probably 3-minute conversation. And I had the opportunity to recognize it in the moment that this was a result of us establishing a deep, loving relationship. And I did not hesitate, and I let her know. I said, thank you. Thank you for showing me the respect of just revealing a little bit more about your life in a quick moment. And she was like, sure, Mom. I want you to be part of my life. So that was certainly a big celebration for us. It was indication to me that unstoppable goals do have results when you turn those dreams into goals. Let us know. Let me know, what is your unstoppable goal? Do you have one? Do you have 2 to 3 words? Maybe it is. And let me get back to that. If I can, I'll go back to the slide that gives some examples of, this is going to be a struggle here. Hold on 2 seconds. I do talk about dream killers in my 5 natural steps. So I highly recommend, once again, to be a part of the presentation for the Santa Clara Sweet chapter, where I talk about all 5 of these steps and I go through the whole program. So some of my options that I think I talked about earlier, I'm not even going to bother going back. Maybe you want a low carbon footprint. Maybe you want a massively successful career. That's all you need to start with. Maybe you want to be horribly famous, right? Or maybe just like massively famous. Maybe you want deeper, loving relationships with your family members too. Who knows what it is? Low carbon footprint is definitely an option as well. It may just save the planet the more people we can get enlisted in that one. So those are some options. Let me know. What are your unstoppable goals? Do you have a title for yours? And other than that, I did pick out a very interesting quote today. And the quote itself reminded me of a place where I wanted to actually begin the conversation, and I was suspicious that I wouldn't get there. I'm thankful that the quote ends in this place. It is a quote by Jonathan Lockwood Huey that says, "Celebrate endings, for they precede new beginnings." Especially in light of the graduation season that is about to happen, if it's not already happening, make sure you do take time to celebrate. Before you even start your next quarterly goal, celebrating the successes that you had in Q1 is a massive form of empowerment. So, with all that, I thank you for being a part of the conversation for inspiring women's leadership. Coffee Time with Kauffman is the comfortable place to discuss women's leadership, because I am on a mission to help the world discover the truth about what women are capable of. When you are ready for your leadership mastery makeover, go to mariakaufman.com and click on Consult a Coach, where you can schedule time with me for an empowerment session. Have a great week. Enjoy your adventures and journey responsibly.